Look up in the sky! It's an asteroid! It's a... is that a whale? No, it's Rosie O'Donnell, our hero of the day!
Wherever Rosie O'Donnell's gone, she's probably eating a leprechaun.
Rosie O'Donnell walked straight into a verbal ambush, and here's the twist, she never even realized it was happening. Greg Gutfeld and Megyn Kelly didn't just push back on her arguments. They dismantled them, piece by piece, with a level of precision that felt almost calculated. No theatrics, no hesitation, just direct hits. But here's where things get interesting. What happens when someone steps forward, confident in their take, only to collapse under the weight of their own words? That's exactly what unfolded. And the result? Unexpected, intense, and depending on where you stand, either deeply uncomfortable or undeniably compelling. This wasn't just another media clash. It turned into something sharper, something more revealing. And trust me, what they said next didn't just escalate things, it completely shifted the tone. You'll want to stay with this, because the deeper you go, the more it starts to raise questions.
Today for leaving America if Trump won, and relocating to Ireland, where she's still not funny. So many celebs say they're going to do it, but never do. But does she have any regrets?
I have no regrets. Not a day has gone by that I thought it was the wrong decision. I was welcomed with open arms. I knew after reading Project 25 that if Trump got in, it was time for me and my non-binary child to leave the country.
If chaos had a voice and a social media account, it might sound a lot like Rosie O'Donnell on one of her more unfiltered days. Strong opinions, constant reactions, and a tone that often leans more emotional than measured. Now, to be fair, everyone's entitled to speak their mind. That's part of the landscape. But here's where things don't quite add up. After years in the public eye, years of criticism, debate, and controversy, you'd expect some evolution. Maybe a shift in tone. Maybe even a moment of reflection. But instead, the pattern seems to repeat. Louder reactions, stronger claims, and an underlying belief that intensity alone can carry the argument. The problem? That approach doesn't always translate into clarity or credibility. And yet, somehow, the cycle continues. So the real question becomes why?
Out to see Miranda, the character played by Cynthia Nixon, who is so annoying, in bed with a virgin nun played by Rosie O'Donnell. I just threw up a little in my mouth. Go ahead, roll it.
Are amazing.
Oh,
I have never experienced anything like that.
oh,
Ew.
a nice way to wake up.
Oh, you are really, really something.
Pam?
Oh my God, yes. It felt so, I don't know, electric, and yet still so natural. I never dreamed my first time could be both those things.
First time?
Mhm.
Oh my God. I'm so grossed out, Emily. You have to talk.
If you're following along and this breakdown is starting to connect, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe, because what's coming next adds another layer to this story you won't want to miss. Rosie's public persona has, over time, taken on a very specific tone. You know that one person at a family gathering who dominates every conversation, shifts every topic back to themselves, and leaves everyone else wondering what just happened? That's the energy some critics say she brings into public discourse. But here's the catch, it's not just about being outspoken. It's about how that delivery lands. When every moment becomes intense, every point becomes personal, and every discussion feels like a confrontation, it starts to raise a bigger question. Is the message getting lost in the noise? And more importantly, does that approach still work in today's media environment?
Mr. Trump, one of the things people love about you is you speak your mind and you don't use a politician's filter. However, that is not without its downsides, in particular when it comes to women. You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
Then comes the turning point. Enter Megyn Kelly and Greg Gutfeld, two voices who've seen this pattern before and, this time, decided not to let it slide. They didn't react emotionally. They didn't escalate for the sake of spectacle. Instead, they approached it with something else, context. And that's where things shifted. I've heard the same themes before. The same frustrations. The same narratives. But this time, instead of letting it pass, they responded directly and publicly. And here's where things get complicated. Because when repeated arguments meet consistent pushback, It forces a moment of reckoning, not just for the person speaking, but for the audience watching. So what happens when those patterns are called out in real time? That's where this story really starts to unfold.
But once you've decided against all evidence and reality that you are the good guy, you can excuse anything. They even push the myth that Musk is in it for himself. Have you seen Tesla's stock lately? It's lower than Rosie O'Donnell's testicles.
When Megyn Kelly responds to something, she doesn't just react, she analyzes. Step by step, point by point, she breaks things down in a way that forces you to reconsider what you just heard. And in this case, her approach was clear. She wasn't engaging with Rosie as a traditional commentator. She framed her more as a cautionary example, someone whose public presence has become increasingly disconnected from the expectations of the audience. Meanwhile, Greg Gutfeld took a different route but landed in a similar place. His tone carried more edge, more frustration. The kind of reaction that suggests this wasn't just about one moment but a build-up over time. And here's the bigger issue. When audiences start to feel like they've seen the same performance too many times, patience runs out. Conversations shift from engagement to fatigue. So the question becomes, has that tipping point already been reached?
Wow, she's nuts. Hey. Well, apparently America couldn't be happier, but like I said, she's our hero of the day for doing what so many other celebs don't have the guts to do. Wow, first Ellen, now Rosie. Makes you wonder what lesbian will leave next. Julie, she seems miserable, and it doesn't really matter where she goes. She's trying to get away from whatever is inside her, because I looked at her and I go like, wow, she has changed.
Rosie's debate style tends to follow a familiar pattern: strong emotion, extended monologues, and a focus that sometimes drifts far from the original question. Now, some would argue that passion is a strength, and in the right context, it absolutely is. But here's where things get tricky. When intensity replaces structure, clarity starts to fade. Gutfeld even pointed out how difficult it can be to follow her arguments, not because they're complex, but because they often lack a clear direction. And that leads to a bigger question: if the audience can't track the point, what's actually being communicated? And then there's the tone. Sense of constant frustration, directed at everything from politics to culture to everyday life. It creates an atmosphere where every issue feels urgent, every moment feels amplified. But when everything is urgent, nothing stands out. And that might be the biggest challenge of all.
Herpes virus. I'm sorry, Exhibit A. Here is Rosie O'Donnell bitching and moaning about her favorite person, Donald Trump. I think this is before she moved. I can't keep track of where she's living in the world to avoid him. Watch.
Well, hey, everybody, it's Friday all day, as my Nana would say. And look what I have on my lip. Everybody's been saying, you have herpes all this time, and I never had a cold sore in my life. And now I have a cold sore. And it makes me think that perhaps this weird pimple that had a tiny little head was a cold sore too. And so I talked to my doctor today, and I did a video telehealth, and they said that it's not a cold sore, it's some reaction to the.
So here's a question that's been quietly building: what exactly is Rosie O'Donnell known for right now? Not historically, not years ago, right now. Because in today's media landscape, relevance isn't just about recognition, it's about current impact. And that's where the conversation starts to shift. Her recent appearances, especially on social media, have drawn attention, but not always in the way intended. The tone, the delivery, the presentation, it all contributes to a perception that feels increasingly disconnected from mainstream expectations. And that raises a difficult but important question. Is this evolution, or is it a struggle to adapt?
Hates her. That's the same thing with Rosie. You know why she's leaving, right? We know why she's leaving. Come on, we know. It's literally an ego trip. Once nobody likes you, you just leave.
So when are you leaving, Jesse?
It's such mundane commentary. Oh, we agree. You're so enlightened. Oh, I agree with her. Oh, shut up. She's lying to you. She's not leaving because. By the way, if you keep your home in America, you're not.
Every time Rosie faces backlash online, it seems to reinforce her position rather than challenge it. Almost like criticism itself becomes validation. But here's where things don't quite add up. Does public pushback really strengthen a message, or does it highlight its weaknesses? Gutfeld compared engaging with her content to navigating confusion, while Megyn Kelly took it further, examining the broader trajectory of her career in public image. And this is where the narrative tightens. Because when past patterns, current behavior, and audience reaction all start aligning in the same direction, it creates a moment of clarity. Not necessarily about who's right, but about what's actually happening.
Rosie O'Donnell told CNN it's heartbreaking to watch Donald Trump destroy the country from her new home of Ireland. Meanwhile, Ireland told CNN it's heartbreaking that there's not enough Guinness to make Rosie O'Donnell look pretty.
Gutfeld described her reasoning as inconsistent, constantly shifting, rarely landing, and that unpredictability raises another question. If the message keeps changing, how can it be evaluated? Rosie has argued that she's been misunderstood. But critics push back on that idea, suggesting the issue isn't confusion, it's clarity. That the audience understands the message, and simply doesn't agree with it. Then there's her long-standing feud with Donald Trump, a conflict that, for many, feels like it belongs to a different era. And yet, it continues to surface, shaping her narrative even today, which leads to a bigger realization. When past conflicts define present identity, it becomes difficult to move forward.
Rosie O'Donnell apologized to Ireland's Prime Minister for overshadowing his visit to the White House. She also apologized for overshadowing the Western Hemisphere. That's a fat joke. So currently, the Democrat Party's brand is about as appealing as Rosie O'Donnell river dancing in a thong. It's so bad even Bill Maher doesn't think we'll ever see a Democrat president again.
Gutfeld framed it as a pattern: daily outrage, shifting targets, constant reaction. And whether you agree or disagree, it paints a picture of someone deeply entrenched in a specific cycle. Her comedy, her commentary, her public appearances, they all seem to circle back to the same core themes: frustration, disconnection, and a persistent attempt to reassert relevance. Megyn Kelly even questioned whether that approach still resonates in today's environment, where audiences expect not just volume, but value. And that's the key tension, because in a world full of voices, being heard isn't enough. You have to connect.
It's too upsetting.
Anybody wanted Donald Trump would never inflict herpes on Rosie O'Donnell. I think he's made that very clear.
Since Eliana refuses to play, Emily, I've got another soundbite for you.
I didn't even know Sex and the City was back on the air. I saw it when
it's happening. You have to react live to the herpes. I'm sorry.
And I was like, oh, you know what? The culture stuff, that's Emily's ballywick anyway.
Here we go. Yeah. Here we go. Here's another beauty. This is Rosie in another scene singing to Miranda. Enjoy.
Because I knew you. Because I knew you. I have been changed for good. It's from Wicked.
I figured.
Go ahead. Some comedy, finally. Finally, Rosie O'Donnell is back.
And then there's her move into political commentary, a space that demands clarity, structure, and credibility. But here's where things start to unravel. Discussions that begin on one topic often drift into something entirely different. Personal experiences, emotional reactions, unrelated grievances, it all blends together. Gutfeld compared it to something that lingers longer than it should, while Megyn Kelly pointed out the disconnect between the message and the delivery. And now, Rosie finds herself in a different position. Not at the center of mainstream platforms, but on the edges, appearing in smaller spaces, trying to maintain visibility. Which brings us to the final question. Can someone reclaim relevance through persistence alone, or does it require something more? Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about one person. It's about how public figures evolve or don't in a media landscape that never stops moving. And if there's one takeaway here, it's this. Volume might get attention. But clarity, consistency, and connection, that's what keeps it. If you've made it this far, you already see the bigger picture. So what do you think, misunderstood voice or missed opportunity? Let me know below.